Welcome to the Wild Type Podcast. I'm Lyssa Lizards.
I'm Neptune the Chameleon, and we're your reptile girlies.
We still got it. We're still on point.
Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back. And we hope you had a wonderful holiday season,
Yeah.
but we took a smidge more of a break than you guys probably realized.
Yeah, I don't think we filmed a single episode in the month of December.
Did we not?
I don't think so. I think this is our...
Except for this
our
one.
yeah.
This is our first one.
Our only one for December.
That's wild.
Because we want to be able to enjoy the holidays, but want to
Yeah.
make sure that we can keep up with the podcast, and
For
we
sure.
know you guys are loving it. So we went a little heavy filming in November so that we could chill a little bit. Yeah, at least filming wise for December.
Yeah. It was a nice little break.
Yeah.
Nice little break. But now we're back with you guys, and I don't know about you, but I'm missing quite a lot of hair.
Are you feeling lighter?
I feel much lighter. I got like a solid 5, maybe close to 6 inches chopped off.
Is it weird when you do the first shampoo
Yes.
and you're like, where's my hair?
No, I'm not gonna lie.
Or the first ponytail?
I think I got this cut maybe like 3 weeks ago, and I'm still getting used to it. It still feels like
It
I
looks
should.
so healthy.
Thank you. I love to
looks
do
really
like
good.
a solid heavy chop at least like once a year. And so I was well overdue for it, and it feels really nice, but I'm still adjusting. That's for sure.
I'm very much on my 3-month trim.
Yeah.
I'm like 4 times a year, once a quarter.
That's solid. Yeah.
Yeah, because I went like 2 years without getting a haircut.
Oh, really?
And my hair was so short just because of all the breakage and everything
That'll do
that I
it.
thought I was like being cool, whatever, of like growing out my hair when really it was shrinking because the ends were just like destroyed. So
No, I do just one really big chop once a year, and it's always really nice.
no, my hair's definitely prone to split ends for whatever reason.
I feel
but
like curly hair might deal with that a little bit more than straight
could be.
hair.
Could be. I don't know. But now I'm on top of it. But I do want to give a quick thank you to you
Oh.
for rescuing me. Like literally rescuing me. And to set the scene,
Oh my gosh.
I was like, okay, so my car key fob
Yes.
battery had died.
Yes.
But there's like a loophole where if you put the fob up against your start button, your car will still start.
Yeah.
And I had bought the batteries. I just hadn't spent the time to pop it open and stick the batteries in. I was getting around just fine, but I had the batteries in my car.
Yeah.
And I was going to a fitness class and had some time before class. So I was like, oh, let me just pop the batteries in here
whatever.
while I'm sitting here. So I open up and it's the 2 pieces that
just can't
clasp
help
together.
but giggle because I know where this goes.
And I opened it. I got the top part off, and then I got was trying to get the battery part out, and I snapped it in half.
Oh,
Plastic.
There's nothing worse than car issues, man, and especially one like that, too, where it's because
Because now I have no way to start my car.
No way
I
to
can't
start
even
your
use the loophole to put my fob next to the button or anything.
Important note for the listeners: she wasn't even home.
I wasn't even home.
You weren't even at home.
No, I was at this fitness class, and I'm cool. So it's 6 p.m. on a Tuesday, and I have no way to get home. So I'm do I have to tow my car? Do I call an Uber? Luckily, I had a spare fob at my house, and so I even called the dealership and was like, "What do I do?" And they're like, "You can tow it." And I was like, "How not?"
Unhelpful.
I don't
Completely
know
unhelpful.
why I was calling in the first place, but
I was gonna say, why were you doing that when you just called me? That's so dumb.
And that was my first call because
That's fair.
I'm
That's
bad at
fair.
asking for help, and I know you are too, which is why when I did ask you, I'm
terrible at
I
it.
know you get it, and I know you know that I wouldn't be asking for help unless I was
100%.
really desperate.
100%.
So with 10 minutes before this class starts, I call her and I'm like, SOS. I'm stuck.
But let me just say, though, one of the benefits of this situation, I know there were not a lot of benefits to the situation, not a lot of upsides. The one upside was that because you were going into this class, it gave me
very big
an
window.
hour.
Yeah.
So you were not right now. And that was something you emphasized on the call. You were not immediately.
I don't need you to drop everything.
Yeah.
But just within the next hour, if it works for you, could you just come rescue me? Thanks.
As the person who was on the other end of that, I was like, oh, yeah, let me just wrap this up. Let me me just finish my work stuff, clicky clacky on my computer. I'll finish everything up. And then like I'll head over there in a little bit. And it was actually perfect timing because Logan and I were going to go grab food is like around that time frame anyway. So I was like, hey, Logan, we got to go like run by her house. Then we got to go drop it off and then we'll go get food. So it was actually like, we just worked it into the schedule.
I owe you one because I had my spare fob. So she went to my house because you also have my spare key for this exact reason.
I am the keeper of the keys.
Yes. I also have been locked out of my house before, and I also had to call you.
This
and was like,
not the first time I've received a panicky phone call.
Please let me in. So anyways, you get my key fob. Yeah. Then you go to the fitness place. You like drop it off. I'm in the class. I'm like, I'm just hoping she can find the fob, that I remembered where the fob was, that the fob even works, like whatever. And I'm like trying to enjoy my class, but all at the same time,
so
like
hard to do.
Freaking out. I'm like, do I have a ride home?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Am I stranded here?
Or I'm gonna have to call you again and be like, hey, so like I just need you to come and pick me up now.
So it didn't work. Now I just need a ride home.
Like I would have done like the Uber like ride of shame. I've been
gosh,
like tail between my legs.
You know I would have come and picked you up. It's so not a big deal.
But like you just need those friends that you can call up and you know put your ego aside or whatever it is that like makes you hesitant to want to ask for help.
We're both really bad at that.
I know.
We're both hyper independent girlies.
I know.
So it's a tough one.
And it's like, could I have done it by myself and like done the Uber? Because I could have Ubered to my house, got the key, Ubered back, got my car, drove back.
Dude,
like
no, that's such a nightmare. Yeah. That is like.
And Ubers are like ridiculously expensive right now for whatever reason.
Okay,
so
random tangent. Like I remember the days when Ubers were like $6. It was the best.
Long are those days. It was $60 for me to Uber to the airport.
Oh, that's so upsetting.
Yeah. Also, when you have a significant other, I realize you have a built-in ride to the airport.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And I'm just like,
well, and it's great for anytime we travel together because we just sign Logan up.
Oh,
like
for sure.
Sorry, hun, you gotta come get us. That's how it goes.
No, I love that. So I just want to say thank you.
Oh my gosh,
because like we just need those friends that will. And just
I am
a caution.
Happy and honored to be the keeper of the keys.
With your key fob. So I ended up going to the dealership with the extra battery that I had in my spare fob. And I was like, can you replace this one? Because I do not trust myself to not break my other one. And key fobs are like super expensive.
The fact that it's that easily breakable to begin with is...
I'm just really strong. Yeah. I don't know.
No, that's fair. You do have crazy arm strength. That's accurate. That's fair.
The dealership guy was like, oh yeah, sure. Pop, pop, pop. And just like... put it in there, and it was so nice to have like a spare piece for the one that I did break.
No, that's helpful.
And replace that. Mm-hmm. So now I have two working new battery key fobs. So.
I think we're actually gonna have to tow my car. We literally got in the car a couple days ago because we're trying to sell my car right now.
Yeah,
I'm leasing my sister's car from her while she's out of the country doing fun things. And so we are trying to sell my old car and I hate it. I just want it gone. I want that car freaking gone. I'm so sick of it sitting in our garage. I've had it since 2014. It's like literally falling apart. Like I just
served its time.
Just quite literally get it out of my sight. Like I want it gone. I don't care. And we were on our way to go and take it to go sell it and it wouldn't start. And so now we're having to tow it to go get the battery fixed. And then to sell it.
Oh, that's annoying.
Infuriating. So there's nothing worse than car troubles, but at least in your situation, I could come and help.
It all worked out.
Well,
all good.
So today we are talking about something that I think it's a weird topic because I feel like you either are brand new to the hobby and it's something that you are kind of concerned with, have questions about.
Rightfully so.
You want nothing to do with keeping reptiles, but you are just curious, nosy, and interested.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're a highly experienced reptile keeper and you're like, whatever.
And you're just going to laugh along with this stuff.
So
yeah.
There's like a few different things, but today we are going to talk about essentially, do reptile bites hurt? How to prevent them? How to kind of like overcome that fear.
Yeah.
Essentially.
And if they do bite you, what is the
do?
safest way for both you and your animal to
do you handle it?
Handle the situation?
Right. Yeah,
I thought this was a fun topic because the reality is it's like when people are like, oh, are there sharks over here? And I'm like, it's like, is the water salty?
Literally.
Like that's, and so it's like, oh, will your reptiles like bite you? And it's like, will they? Well, can they? They have teeth.
The question that I get all the time, which I don't ever mean to have like a visceral reaction to a question, but like sometimes I do. And in those situations, I always have to be like very careful with like how I respond back. But like, the question of like, will it bite or like, does it bite is actually infuriating to me sometimes. Right. And I hate that because I don't want to be the person that's like, that's a dumb question. But
right. But the answer is yes.
Yes.
But then there's like, is there a negative connotation with that? Of like, oh, is it like out of like anger or like, you know, whatever, trying to cause harm to you? And like, that's not the case at all. And so that's where it's like it's a tricky question, especially for someone who's not aware of the nuances with 100%. Reptile keeping. And they're just like asking, you know, to ask whatever. That's fine too. But
and I think like us reptile keepers oftentimes need to like remind ourselves, talking to myself here, that like that is like a very understandable question for some people because we're so desensitized to it. At least I am as a snake keeper. I'm so desensitized to like reptile bites.
And I honestly see this with dogs as well, right? Like I'll be walking Ember, and Dalmatians do have a reputation of being an aggressive breed. And or when she was like in puppy training, I wouldn't let people like pet her because we were like training and stuff. And they're like, oh, like, does she bite?
Is she aggressive?
And
you're
I'm like,
no, we're just training.
No. But like, could she? I guess because she has teeth, but like Ember would never.
My favorite like sassy response to this is anything with a mouth can bite.
As I'm saying, is the water salty? Then like, yeah, there's sharks in here. Are they in this particular part of the ocean?
Who knows?
Probably not, given you're literally on the shoreline. But are they in the water? Then like,
of course they are.
Yeah.
Some of my just on the like shark analogy, some of my favorite videos are the ones, the aerial shots of where the sharks are versus where the swimmers are, and like they'll have like the Jaws like music in the background, and I'm just like,
I don't go deeper than my knees in the ocean. For more than one reason, but like,
oh no, I've swam with whale sharks, I've swam with nurse sharks. It's my life goal to get in a cage with a great white.
Oh yeah, I've definitely snorkeled before, but like, me in the ocean. The ocean and I, whatever the proper grammar is, we just like, we've had some tussles.
Yeah. I previously wanted to be a marine biologist, so I'm a big shark girl as well as a reptile girl.
I've been thrown under a reptile. You do that once and you're like,
that's fair. No, that'll get you.
I don't know about this, but back to the biting.
Reptile
Sorry,
bites.
That was my bad.
No, but like, so I guess like just to answer the question of like, do reptile bites hurt? The realistic answer is it depends on the species, right? So if we're talking about lizards, the crazy thing, I would personally actually say that snake bites hurt the least out of like the reptile species, in my personal opinion.
We should caveat this. I've never been bit by any of my reptiles. Maybe just do a quick list of the species that you have been bit by.
This is a fabulous point. Yes. So I have been bit by Taz, my scaleless corn snake. I've been bit by Hazel, my Hog Island boa constrictor. I have been bit by Tarzan, my yellow anaconda. I have been bitten by Nilla, my blue tongue skink. I have been bitten by who else?
Any geckos?
No, none of the geckos. Charlie's never gotten me. Nessie's never gotten me. None of the arboreal geckos.
Has Voldy gotten you?
Okay, shockingly no. But I think that's because I am like very careful with him for that reason. Like I am like, I only like, I really like, I'll pick him up by like towards the end of his tail with the hook and stuff. But like, I really treat him kind of like a snake because let me be so for real. I am well aware that he will get me at some point. He will.
It's not if it's a win.
It is.
So yeah.
Yes.
So you have experience both with slightly larger lizards and then snakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never been bitten. To your point, like I take enough precautions, and we can talk about that of like understanding body language. So then you're not in a scenario where you're going to get bit. But back to what you're saying as far as like pain level, right? You're saying the snakes don't hurt as bad as the lizards.
The way that I look at it, and this is something I kind of wanted to like start off this whole topic with this, honestly, is the fact that when it comes to most reptiles, I would say this is specifically leaning towards snakes, but I would kind of open it up to all reptiles for the most part. There's usually like two types of bites. There is what is called a defensive strike. And this is, again, with snakes, but I would say it goes the same for lizards
Chameleons
most part.
definitely do that. Yeah.
And then there is a feeding response, which is more of like a hunger bite. Like they
Where they'll
smell
latch
food,
on.
and usually it's when they smell food or see food, and they know. And then the difference between the two is a defensive bite is much more they are biting and letting go in the attempt and hope to run away.
Yeah, more of a strike.
Yes,
Yep.
it's literally like a strike of like they bite, they back away, and then they try to run. And then the hunger strike, the food strike, food response is what it's usually called, is where they latch on because they think that it's food, or they think that your hand or whatever they're biting onto is actually food. And so that's where you have to make them realize that you're not food.
Yep.
And so those are kind of the two bite types that we're looking at. And realistically, like between the two, if it's a defensive strike, specifically from a snake, that thing is literally not going to hurt. And unless it's like obviously like a huge retic
enough
or like
to likely break the skin.
Yes.
But not anything more than that.
Yeah. Like and again, this is like I would say all the animals we're talking about for the most part are not your giant species, right? These are like pretty, average sized. Obviously Tarzan, if he bites me in the future, when he gets bigger, that will be a much different situation.
Circle back on that one.
Yeah, but he has only bitten me when he was much younger. And so, I would even say even now, I think it would hurt significantly more given where he's at. But the biggest bite that I've dealt with was from him when he was about 6 months old. And that was directly on my face. I immediately made a TikTok right after he bit me, but it was literally my eyebrow directly above my eye. He just barely missed my eye, which is very lucky. But if he were to do that now, it would be probably a little bit more of an actual impact. I would assume it would probably leave somewhat of like a little bit of a bruise now. And then Hazel, my boa constrictor, my Hog Island boa constrictor, she definitely has bit me, and I could feel it a little, not on my head. That was not where she got me, but I could feel it a little bit more just because the bigger they are, the more impact they have in terms of like how they're hitting, not just their teeth.
The force. Yeah.
Yeah. The force. That's the right word. But so when it comes to these bites, like there's a million different ways to prevent being bit, but like I would say the biggest prevention is to just learn their body language. And unfortunately, the reality is you can really only do that with experience, right?
Yeah.
That makes it tough.
Yeah. I will say with chameleons specifically, because that's what I have the most experience with, is like there are visual things that lead up to it, and snakes too, right?
Yes.
If they're starting to recoil, right, and kind of like look like a little spring that's loaded up, right, that's them getting into a defensive posture so that they can strike forward at whatever threat, and maybe that's us, right? That's it. That's in front of them.
Yeah.
So learning those behaviors, and you can do that through talking with other keepers. I know I spent some time after I had a little bit of experience under my belt making a signs of a defensive chameleon video so that people could learn the signs.
And I recently, I would say in the last like few months, made a video of showing off a defensive snake versus a more relaxed snake. And I actually went back and found old videos from when Tarzan was much younger. And that was actually one of my favorite videos that I kind of put together because it really showed the difference of how calm he was like 6-7 months into like our handling sessions versus how he was when I very first got him. And you could see his body being more tense in the earlier videos. And it's so cool. So like, I would say with snakes in particular, the number one thing is just pay attention to whether their body looks tense or relaxed. And if they're kind of like all pulling up their body into like a big ball or into like a, all in one location instead of kind of sprawling out or feeling, taking up more space, I guess, then that usually indicates that, they're feeling a little angsty, they're feeling a little unsure, a little defensive, a little nervous.
Yeah. And there can be an audio component too, right? We see hissing a lot with defensive reptiles. So if you're hearing a hiss, gaping typically is another defensive behavior. These are all warning signs. This is them trying to tell the threat to like back off.
They're like, get out of my face.
Yeah. So that's why like when people get bit by reptiles, and this is like assuming it's unprovoked, right? Is like there usually are signs leading up to it. And
always,
so like whether or not you know the signs, that's the kicker. That's the kicker.
That's
and then you're like, oh, that's what that meant. Because then they, striked or they bit or they lunged or
Right.
whatever the case may be. So being mindful of their posture, if they're gaping or hissing, if they're trying to make themselves bigger, if there's a color change, right?
Yeah.
If they're getting fired up or showing more of like stress colors, those can all be indicators. And then I want to bring something up. Do you remember the day that you got Tarzan?
Oh, yeah.
And you were posing for a picture?
Oh,
So I
he
was
bit
like,
me right away.
yeah. And he
Right away.
immediately bit you. And I was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
And you're like, I think he just bit me. I was like, oh.
But that right there shows you that like defensive snake bites really don't even hurt. My literal words right out of my mouth were, I think he just bit me.
Yeah.
And when he got me in the face, that was exactly, I was so confused. I literally, and Logan was like on the bed with me when I was holding him and when he bit me. And I looked over and Logan looked at me and we both, like one of us said it. I don't know which one of us said it, but one of us was like, did that just happen? It's that like specifically with snakes, that's how fast it is. And that's how like quick and painless it is because you're really just like, what was that?
Yeah, and we don't typically see defensive bites with the smaller lizard species.
Not as often.
Not as often. Yeah. Is it crested geckos? Not really. Leopard geckos.
They
bearded dragons.
They bite with mating behavior, not with defensive
and
behavior.
I wanted to bring that up as like that third, because you said the two scenarios, the food response and defensive, but there is a third response, which is mating. So there are
that's
some
mostly lizards.
Yeah, there are some lizards. I know skinks do this. I know crested geckos, lychees, quite a few others, where the males will actually bite the females
to like hold them into place.
Head basically, and hold them into place. So Pluto, my crested gecko,
oh my gosh,
got a little crazy around the time of year where males are looking for a female, and I thought he was getting defensive because he was trying to bite me, and I'm like, what's going on? And then I'm like doing some research, and then I realized that it's most likely like for a crested gecko that's so chill, like he's not normally defensive. I was like, oh, you're just trying to get some, and like you're coming at me for that reason. But it kind of freaked me out, not gonna lie.
No. That'll, especially because that was a big behavior shift from him. He wasn't like that, and then all of a sudden he was. And I mean, little did you know that was just him coming into
I thought we were
breeding
having like
maturity,
an old Yeller moment or something, and I'm like, what is going on with my like chill little crested gecko? And he's like,
no, that's a great point though. The third option is mating for sure. And so kind of moving into, I would say, the like food response, right? So this one I would say definitely happens the least often, but this is the only reason I've been bit by Nilla, my blue tongue skink. She got my toe one time because she like, literally,
you know what looks good?
That little, it was my pinky toe too. And I was just sitting there, I was like cross-legged, like on the floor, and she was like running around. And she literally like came up under me, and I thought she was just like cruising by my knee, right?
Yeah.
I didn't think she was like, and all of a sudden I felt like, and it was hard. It was a hard bite.
She's trying to go
and
home.
I literally pulled my foot back so fast, and she was kind of hanging onto it a little bit, and then she let go pretty quickly when I moved my foot. But I was like, you did not just do that. What was that? You've never done that.
That's
like,
so funny.
She has never, she'll gape a little bit if she's like, she can be a little fussy from time to time, but she has never done that before. And I know it was because she thought it, because I had been feeding her some stuff. And so like, I think I was giving her like super worms or a blueberry or something, but I had been feeding her. And so she clearly was like reacting to the food. But I was
She's like, look at this little wiggly worm.
Yeah, I was
Don't
like,
mind if I do.
Absolutely not. And that actually, I think out of all the bites I've dealt, because also all of my snakes have bitten me more than one time. Let's be so for real. It was not just one and done. Except Hazel has struck at me multiple times, but only actually tagged me once. But Taz and Tarzan have both gotten me multiple times. But Nilo, that was the only one. So that is technically the only bite I've ever had that was a food-driven response. So because I'm always incredibly careful when feeding.
Yes, and I wanted to talk through some of the steps you take to mitigate the likelihood of a food-driven response. So why don't you like talk about that?
So I would say this is more so with like snakes in particular. If they smell a rat or a chick or whatever you're like feeding, whatever your feeder is, if they smell it, if it's in the room, do not handle them. Like that's how I am. Like if I am bringing rodents or chicks or again, like whatever
Any
my feeder is,
feeder,
if
yeah.
I'm bringing any snake food into the reptile room, I'm not even attempting to handle any of them first off. So that I would say is like the number one thing. If you have food out or if you even touched any of the snake food in that day, don't even try to handle without like washing your hands, sanitizing, because they
Right.
will smell it on you no matter what, and you will get bit. So that's number one, is just make sure that you keep the food and
Makes
the
sense.
handling
Yep.
very, very separate. I won't even handle my snakes that day if I'm feeding that night, because it's just totally separate. How long have we been using Pangea gecko food? Like forever, right?
Since we've both had our geckos.
Literally. I mean, it's one of the OG Crusty Gecko food brands. And honestly, one of my main reasons for using them is their vast variety of flavors.
Pluto's personal favorite has to be the watermelon and the fig and insects.
They go crazy for the watermelon flavor. Mine love the watermelon too, and the fig and insects. Those are top two in my household.
I also have to give a shout out to the silicone cups because that has been a game changer.
They are so easy to clean. You can reuse them.
And you save so much money.
You save so much money on the cups.
So if you're interested in any of these products, head on over to PangeaReptile.com.
Hey, reptile girlies, if you're tired of explaining why your spare room looks like a mini Jurassic Park, meet Scratches, the social app where exotic pet owners find their people.
Just add photos of you and your scaly babies, set your filters to reptiles, and start scrolling through local pet parents who get it. No more awkward first date explanations about your ball python collection or why you have a cricket farm.
Whether you're looking for friendship, romance, or someone who can pet sit your beardy, your community is just a match away.
Download Scratches today and start connecting with reptile people in your area. Available on iOS and Android.
Number two, what I do, and I mostly do choice-based handling with my snakes these days, of like, especially Hazel, she does not like to come out unless...
She does her own thing.
Yeah, she wants nothing to do with me, which is totally fine. I just enjoy her presence. But so the main thing I would say is to kind of have an indicator of what is feeding time and what is not feeding time, right?
I love that you do this.
Yeah,
well, and not
so
just you, a lot of people do.
So there's a couple different ways you can go about it. I actually do two methods. I just like double up, but
just to be extra clear,
just to be super
we are
clear.
feeding now. Please
you
do
are
not
eating food. Don't even come near me. Yeah. So I do two things. So, and I have always done this with all of my snakes from the moment I first brought a snake home. So if I'm going to be handling them, I let them know that. So, and that is what's called hook training. But then I also go a little extra. The extra mile that I do is if I'm going to be handling them, I spritz them with water. And I think this kind of just naturally started happening because I missed most of their enclosures anyways.
Yeah.
So it was like I would mist them, take them out, whatever. So I will just spritz them with a little bit of water, and then I will take the hook, and I always take all of my snakes out using the hook initially. And so, once I get them out and get them onto my hands, I'll put the hook away. But the initial response is always with the hook. And so I will take the hook and I'll kind of tap them a little bit on the head. You don't have to do the head tap, but then I take the hook and I run it down along their body. And I basically just keep doing that for about 15 to 30 seconds, just so that is telling them like, hey, this is the hook.
It's go time.
It's going to pick you up. I'm going to handle you. So I do that. And then if I'm feeding, nothing. It's just rat. It's just, here's the food.
Yep.
And so and I know a lot of people, and this kind of goes into a little bit of a tangent, but I'm not going to go that far into the tangent, I promise. But a lot of people, there was a very old precedent that used to be set with snakes in particular, that you move them into a separate container for feeding time. Otherwise they'll get like cage aggressive or like enclosure aggressive or whatever. That's why I do that, because I don't want to move them into something else, because that can risk regurgitation and all kinds of things. So I personally would never move into a feeding container or whatever, but that's why I do it the way that I do it, so that I indicate when it's not food time. And I think that is a better method of doing it versus moving them elsewhere and indicating it is feeding time.
Yeah.
I actually would argue that would like kind of have the opposite effect of them being like, oh, something's happening. Is it feeding time? Whatever. So I
see the train of thought.
Right.
Of both trying to create some sort of separation
Between
the two
food and handling.
Yeah, the two
Right.
options. But yeah, I think that's a great method. I think we talked about that when we were talking about like
Yes.
taming, tips and tricks for
Yes.
taming down different reptile species and,
Yeah.
and whatnot. No, I think that's wonderful, and it gives them the heads up that, hey,
It's time.
This is
Yeah.
coming. Yeah.
And that just in general will help prevent bites, like taking those precautions, having those like strategies in place for like how to handle feeding time, because over time they do learn those things very quickly and very easily. So that I would say is probably the biggest measure, is keeping the food and the handling separate, and then having some kind of an indicator between handling and feeding.
Yeah, I also wanted to circle back on the choice-based handling.
Yeah.
That's also going to decrease your likelihood of getting a bit if your reptile is coming out and then you're
And they're
handling
choosing
them.
to come out.
Yeah, versus kind of a forced
Yeah.
situation. And there's different methods, and every reptile is different.
course,
and like,
yeah.
you kind of have to go based off of their personalities and everything else. But
Right. And that's kind of what I've done, is go off the personalities. And Tarzan didn't have a choice whether he wanted to or not, because he was going to be tame regardless. I was like,
Yeah.
you're going to be a big snake. You don't get a choice, buddy. Now,
Yeah.
now he gets a choice, now that he's earned that privilege.
Yes. But if
yeah.
you are going more in the direction of when it makes sense for them, there are of course instances where maybe you're doing like a health check, or
Yes.
you need to do something in their enclosure and you have to take them out against their will, and that happens. But also something I do with Neptune is I will like handle him with like a stick, right? Or a snake hook or something, depending on what your species
That's
is.
what I do with Voldy too, because he's so temperamental.
So then if I put my hand near him, that's just going to increase my likelihood
Right.
of getting bit. And there's definitely been times where like Neptune snapped and like bit the branch, and I'm like, you didn't get me.
You didn't get my finger, you just got the stick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Neptune's just been a defensive chameleon from
Day
the
one,
beginning.
from the jump.
Yeah, and I know a lot of breeders have been bit,
yeah.
along the ways.
I will say too, just on the like spectrum of like, does it hurt? Chameleons, I've never been bit by one, but I would estimate that would be pretty high up on the list of whether or not it
depends
hurts.
on if it's like a strike,
Right, of
bluff,
course,
of like back
yeah.
off and they just kind of like lunge at
Yeah.
you, then they'll just like kind of like tap you, get you, versus if it's a chomp.
No, that's because I have seen pictures of a chameleon bite chomp.
Yeah,
and it
especially
is
in the like
crazy.
fleshy, webby part between your thumb and your finger.
looks
That's
so
a
painful.
common spot to get bit
It
by
looks so painful.
a chameleon is right there. So I currently have never been
That's impressive.
bit, but to what we've been saying this whole time is taking precautions, learning the behavior. I know I have a defensive chameleon, so like I choose to handle him with a stick, unless I can tell once he's on the stick, I'm like, oh, you're chill, and then
good.
I'll handle him, no problem. But I won't just like reach my hand in there and like scoop him up.
No.
Another thing to mention is never come from above, right?
Yes,
that is
that's
going to
huge.
immediately invoke a defensive
And that
reaction.
Just to be clear, because coming from the chameleon perspective, that goes for all
For all reptiles. Sorry, that was a general comment.
That's very general, because quite literally the one time that Hazel did tag me was because I was coming from above with my phone, and she does not like my phone. That has been made abundantly clear. Multiple of the times that she has struck at me, it was because of my phone. So
see, now you've learned
now
that.
I've learned.
So you can use
Yes.
the zoom feature.
Yeah,
instead.
exactly.
No, so yeah, don't come from above.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. That's going to immediately be a threat
Huge.
for them, and
Yeah.
going to put them in that defensive posture and put them on edge of like, is this a threat? Do I need to defend myself?
And just on that note, this isn't so much like a thing that you can do, but in terms of enclosures, I would pretty much, if you, just another way to mitigate it is to never use the top opening enclosures for most species. I mean, you can use them if you want to. I understand they're like budget conscious. Like I totally get that.
Right, yours gonna have to come from above versus.
But you're always going to be coming from above, and they're going to learn to just be defensive in that way. So I just, that's another thing that you can potentially do in terms of your setup to mitigate any any risk there.
And I just want to say, like, the larger lizard species, the monitors, the tegus, like, I wish we could chat with some of our friends who have the bigger species and just ask them, you know, have you ever been, because I just see their arms like just scratched up for days, and that's just because of their feet. That's not even their.
I mean, Nilla gets me like crazy with her scratches. I mean, and she's not even that big.
And they're not chomping down bones and everything else.
Insane.
Yeah,
but I think so. All of that to be said, those are some tips and tricks just for like ways to prevent it, but also to like hopefully ease your fears that like it's really not that bad, but I do just kind of want to like wrap that up and put a little bow on it by just letting you guys know, if you don't have reptiles yet, just understand that it could and will probably happen. She is an anomaly.
Yeah, that's true. But that's because I keep like almost exclusively chameleons. I have a crested gecko, and he got all crazy, and I was like, okay, close the door, and I just
put him back.
Full transparency, have not handled Pluto since then. So like, but I'm good, right? I've been able to like make sure that he's well taken care of. If I have to make changes to his enclosure, I work around him.
And if you have to handle him, you would, and it wouldn't be a problem.
Absolutely, and I would just suck it up.
I think that is more so what I want to say is like, if you're going to keep reptiles, be aware that it could and will happen.
Yeah.
But be okay with like just knowing that if it does happen, you can still handle them regardless.
Yes. Yes, and I am confident if there was a single animal that I was keeping that I didn't think that I could handle in case of emergency, whether there's like a reason I have to get them out, you know, if I couldn't confidently handle them, I would not own them because that puts them at risk. And that's not fair
to them
for
or
me.
For you.
Yeah, if, you know, you had a snake and they've gone defensive and started striking, you know, then like you're no longer comfortable handling them, then you may need to like reevaluate if this is still a complementary or compatible, as I was trying to say, pet for you and your handling. But
but just be prepared. If you're gonna get reptiles, you need to be at the bare minimum okay with the possibility of being bit, right?
Yeah.
I just think that's really crucial. And I was the same way when I got Tarzan. That was something I was very considering when I was getting into getting him, because I was like, if I don't trust myself with this animal, I will have to rehome him, and I have to be okay with that if that came to be true. It didn't come to be true, but if it came to be a concern.
I'm having a flashback. So I actually have handled Pluto since he got all like, you know, matey behavior. So he had gone out of his enclosure and was actually on the wall.
Oh my God, I forgot about this.
We talked about this in our like escaping reptiles episode we did. But he was on the wall. I'm like, I can't scoop him with a stick the way that I can with a chameleon who's like freaking out. So I put on rubber gloves, like dish gloves, and they were clean. Like they weren't the ones I used for actual dishes. They were like a clean spare pair I had. I put them on just to feel better, to like have the confidence to like handle him in case he bit me.
That's amazing.
But I'm a big weenie, guys. Like this is why
she doesn't keep snakes.
It's so true. It is so true, because I know myself and I know the fear or the hesitation, and I'm like, we also talked about this, that like I'm such a like flinchy, jumpy person.
But that's the crazy thing is like, so am I. I'm super jumpy and I totally flinch all the time, but like I also do not care at all, even in the slightest, if I get bit. So it's like, why am I even jumping?
I had to get my blood tested and they do the finger prick, and I was like making a whole deal of it, and the lady was so annoyed with me. I was like, but it hurts. And she's like, get over it. And just went, pa-cha. And then it was like throbbing for like 2 hours afterwards. And I will be the first to admit that I am a weenie, right? And so but I know that about myself.
Yeah.
So then I'm
Very
not going to get a species that is not complementary to my weenie personality.
I'm dead.
My weenie personality. And it's so funny because like I've like torn my ACL multiple times and was like totally fine. So it's not a pain tolerance thing. It's just the like, it's the small little things.
I think it's just the mental aspect of it.
Yeah. I just, not my thing. So I just pick species that I feel good with, and like that's why I'm looking at a tortoise and chameleons and, you know, not a green tree python, as much as I think they are stunning animals.
They absolutely are, but man, the teeth on the emerald tree boas and the green tree pythons are
no thank you
quite a lot.
So I'm like, it's not, and I know they are mostly just like sit in their spot,
Yeah.
look at kind of thing. But I know if I had to handle them,
You wouldn't feel comfortable.
I would not feel comfortable.
Right.
Even though they
Yeah.
would probably go through 99% of their life
Yeah.
being just fine left alone.
Mm-hmm.
In the instance I had to take them out, not for me. Not for me.
So funny.
Do you have any advice, or if some like an animal like does grip onto you and like
yes, we
or,
did
like,
want to talk
how to
through
like
that.
safely
So,
remove them or anything like that?
Thank you for asking that. I totally forgot about that. So yes, so there are a few different ways, and I've heard a multitude of different like ways for if you experience a feeding response and they do latch onto you. So I would say the two methods of getting them to unlatch that I personally would try if I were in that position were to run their mouth under cold water. So literally just walk them over to the sink, run the water, hold kind of their nose under that, and that will typically instinctually make them kind of
Like let go.
Unlatch.
Yeah.
So I would do that. That's definitely like top tier, safest option in my opinion. You can also take like a credit card and slide it under, because the problem is with snakes, their teeth are like little hooks, right? So if you try to take their head, you're going to risk pulling their teeth out, which is just like not good and dangerous. And you don't want to injure your snake and yourself, right? So and again, I've never tried this. This would be very nerve-wracking if I were to try this, but you can take a credit card and kind of gently push it under the top half of their mouth and then kind of pry it up so that the teeth kind of come up, and by doing that they should unhook a little bit, and then by inserting that, the snake usually will then start to let go. I've also heard and seen you can put like hand sanitizer on their gums, but I personally would never do that. I don't find that to be safe.
Yeah, that also seems like a lot of work.
So if you hear that running around, like, you can try that. I personally wouldn't want to try that unless it was like a desperation situation. But I would try those other two things first before you even think about trying them.
Yeah, and I think Snake Discovery has a video where she went around to like different snakes and kind of demonstrated, including a green tree python.
Oh, really?
Yeah, got bit by one. And I was
Crazy.
like, no, thank you.
Nope.
But I watched that video just for my own curiosity.
Yeah.
Not that I ever plan to own a snake or get bit by a snake, but
that's the thing too. I feel like a lot of people are just so used to like getting bit by snakes that it just does, especially breeders and stuff. They're just like, I don't care, bite me.
Right.
And like, I'm the type where I'm like, if you bite me, I literally don't care, but am I going to try to prevent it? Absolutely.
Right.
Am I jumpy as hell? Absolutely.
Right.
So, you know. Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully this helps. Hopefully this gives you some tips on, how to prevent it, what to do if it happens. And to your point, like you said, it's not an if, it's a when.
Just accept that if you're going to get reptiles, you're going to get bit at some point. Don't listen to this one because she's special.
Yeah. I'm not going to say anything to that. It's just it is what it is.
It's true. Yeah, it is what it is. But so I guess that wraps up that little part of our topic.
I'm good. Mm-hmm.
So we've got that. And then this is our first episode that is like almost in 2025.
Last day.
It is literally New Year's Eve.
2024.
Yes. So what are some of our 2025 goals?
I know, because our next episode is going to be like a full week into the new year.
I know.
Yeah. So some goals that I have for Neptune the Chameleon, right? Because I feel like we've got like podcast goals, but then like individual goals is I'm chasing 100K. Yeah. So 100,000 followers on YouTube and TikTok. If TikTok still exists, like
TBD on that.
Honestly, who knows? But they've said that like 7 times, so I'll believe it when I see it.
Which, mind you, if you only follow me on TikTok, please also follow me on Instagram and YouTube.
Uh-oh.
That would be cool, because the majority of my
300,000 of them,
are over on TikTok. So come find me.
We'll see what happens with that. But yeah, I am like 65K, I think, on both. Whether or not this happens in 2025 or in 2030, like I really don't care.
That's the thing. Like I hate putting like time limits on goals. I don't.
Like if it
my
happens
goal,
in 3 years, I'd be like, okay.
Like it's my goal. I don't care when it happens. The sooner the better, of course. But like,
But that's just like one for YouTube. You get the plaque, which I'm like,
that's exciting.
That'd be really cool.
That'd be a huge deal.
And so, yeah, I just feel like 100K would just be like a cool number to hit.
Totally.
No particular reason beyond the YouTube plaque. So that's just like kind of a fun,
Yeah.
mystical number. And then I currently have eggs incubating
Yes.
from Neptune and Venus. So those will be hatching in 2025.
I can't wait to see the baby chameleons.
Like
I'm
this
so
time next year,
excited.
I'm going to have like
They're
babies.
so cute. I can't wait to see the babies.
Yeah, I was literally like in bed the other night and I was just thinking about it and got like all up in my feels because Neptune's turning 7 this year, which is like
crazy.
up there in age.
Yeah.
And so it just, I'm like, but to have like a Neptune and Venus baby and like they've been through so much to get to this point.
My gosh.
And like we still have very much like a very long road ahead of us to like get these babies to hatch and be healthy and everything else. But like that's a really big adventure.
Huge adventure.
For this year.
Yeah.
So I'd say those are
those are solid.
the two big ones.
Yeah. Well, so speaking about not putting time limits on our goals, we definitely talked about goals a year ago, and I did not accomplish mine. So
Put them on the list for
2025. We're redoing all my enclosures because I did not make nearly enough progress. So something we'll be talking about in a few episodes is an episode on mental health, because that has been one of my biggest struggles of 2024. And as you guys know, that kind of goes along with some of my birth control journey and everything we've been talking about. So because of that, I was not nearly productive enough. Well, I mean, I was productive. I got a lot of things done, but
there's still some things you'd like to get done.
And so some of those things are, and I'm very excited because January in particular, I have like 3 free weekends.
Let's
go. I'm very excited, but I'm going to be finishing first, I would say in the first 6 months of 2025, I'm going to get in particular, Charlie, Nessie, Voldy, Kermit, and I think those are my top, to get all their enclosures either upgraded or fully completed, depending on what I got going on with those. So that is like my immediate. I want that done like very, very soon in 2025. And now that I'm feeling mentally better, I am excited to achieve those. So I would say for Lyssa's lizards, it's really just that. I really just want to, by the end of 2025, to have almost all of them completely upgraded. And I just know that like once I get the ball rolling on that, it's really just going to take over. So I would say that. I would also, again, because of stuff I've been dealing with personally, my content has been super inconsistent, super all over the place. I haven't been doing as much of my like storytelling and like more thoughtful content, like the content that actually like, you know, takes a little bit of like time and strategy to like produce. Like,
sure.
I haven't been able to do that as much. And so my content has really just been like chaotic, sporadic, and inconsistent. And I just really want to get back to like where and just putting my all into it instead of just putting a small percentage of myself into it. So I just want to improve my content, improve all of my reptile enclosures, and I would love to work with more brands in 2025 too. So,
love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any goals for the podcast?
I just want to meet more reptile girlies in person. That was like literally the one thing that I wrote down for the podcast, is I just want to meet more of us.
Yes.
So that's my main thing, is I just want to get to like have more conversations with you guys, have more like real, genuine conversations, like the mental health conversation, like some of the other stuff we've talked about with you guys in the last year. And I just want to keep opening up, being vulnerable, and then meet as many of you guys in person as we can.
Yeah, that I second that 100%. I also last year, or I guess this year, 2024, whatever, we set the goal of an episode every single week, which we've managed to do. And so like setting the same goal for 2025 to keep delivering consistent content, because even when Neptune the Chameleon or Lyssa's Lizards content takes a hit,
the podcast never has.
We've always prioritized getting stuff out, and like we've done doubles where we like fill back-to-back episodes. We've pulled all-nighters, like we've done whatever we need to do to like get these episodes out, which is why we feel so passionately, because we're pouring our heart, souls, like everything into this. And so to keep that momentum, to see what this can like truly become and the community we can build is like exciting.
Just makes my heart all warm and fuzzy.
Yeah.
I love it.
And then to put a number on it, because I do think this is realistic, 5,000 followers across all platforms.
Oh, yeah. No, I do think I love that number. I feel solid about that.
I feel like that's very achievable.
Yeah, totally.
It's going to be a stretch for some of them.
For some of them, yeah.
Others, I think, will be able to hit it.
Looking at you, Instagram.
So such a struggle. And YouTube's going to be hard too to hit
YouTube takes
5,000
a hot
subs,
minute. But again, no time limits on it. Whenever it happens, I'll be thrilled.
Yeah. But I think that'll be a good milestone for us to hit as a podcast.
No, I think that's great. I love putting numbers to it, even though, again, no time limits. But it's just fun to put some numbers on it. So those are some of our goals. Let us know what your goals are, in whether it be like your reptile content, your actual reptile care, or anything along those lines, or even just your personal ones, whatever you want to share with us. We'd love to hear. So let us know. And I think that kind of wraps us up.
Wrap it up. Last one of the year, guys.
Awesome.
See you in
2025. See
Yeah.
ya. All right. Well, so please do all of the things. You can follow me everywhere at Lyssa's Lizards. Also the podcast everywhere at the Wild Type Podcast.
You can follow me, Neptune the Chameleon.
And we'll catch you guys later. Bye, y'all.
Bye.